Hi, this is Bob Roberts, and I'm the dead man talking. I have stage 4 cancer in my liver, and possibly only a few months to live. So I've invited 4 of my best friends from college days to talk about cancer, suffering, death, hope, and God. I can't wait for you to meet Will Gawkin, Jason Jans, Ellis Murphy, and Josh Darnell. My desire is to tackle big questions and challenges that my probable near-term demise raises, and to always season the sobering with humanity and humor. Don't expect nice and tidy solutions with a bow on top. It's going to get messy.
Well, everybody, welcome to episode 16 of the Dead Man Talking podcast with our host, the great Bob Roberts. And we were just talking. Bob takes the licking and keeps on ticking. It's been 2.5 years since he began his cancer journey. And he has learned a lot of things. And so we've had so many people talk to us who either have cancer or who know somebody who has cancer. And so Bob's desire tonight was to really go through what is like a cancer 101 primer. And we've talked about like what are the things you need to know? The head, what happens in the heart? What about the hands? What do you do? And then what about the homies, like your friendships and relationships and communication? And then what about your honey? And that's his wife. So those will be the rungs upon which we hang the conversation tonight. And Bob, why don't you first of all start by giving us a health update? Everybody asks us all the time, and give us the lowdown on what you know so far.
So I'm about 3 weeks away from my dual liver resection, where at one point we were going to go in and blast the cancer with sound waves. That didn't look like it was the best option. Then we thought we would go in with microwave ablation and just kind of sizzle and fry it. But the medical staff at the University of Tennessee decided, let's just go ahead and start cutting on him. So they took 2 big divots out of my liver, and they did that through laparoscopic surgery and a robotic assist. So, of course, there was some soreness, still is a little bit of healing soreness from that, but been able to fully function. In fact, just the week after the surgery, I was able to do a full week of ministry up in Pennsylvania. And speaking of Pennsylvania, we're going to be there. Going to be there soon.
Yeah, hopefully by the time you listen to this podcast, we'll be just a few days away from spending a weekend together with each other in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, State College area, and we'll also be in a couple churches that weekend as well. So we'll put that information in the notes so that everybody knows where they are and if they want to come through. So, Bob, why don't you start us by talking and tell us about? Let's talk about the head. Like when you learn you have the diagnosis, it's almost overwhelming, and of course, then you've got Google and all that kind of stuff. So, like, tell people like if they're on the journey, over the last 2.5 years, what are things you wish you'd have told them about how to prepare for this mentally?
Well, of course, when you hear the word cancer, it's just synonymous with death in our culture, and just all of us have grown up with somebody that we know having been impacted by cancer. So most of us tend to be worst case scenario folks anyway, to just fearful. So you have to be careful to get your feet under you when the diagnosis comes through. It is certainly, it's a true punch to the gut. And it's almost like you need to say, okay, I'm stopping my world. I'm hitting the pause button on this to just wrap my mind around this diagnosis. But you're not doing it hopelessly. You're actually going to then use your time, use your head to listen very carefully, read up, so that you have some mastery and ownership of exactly what it is that's going on in your body. And just having that foundation means the world to your own soul and to those around you, so that you can offer some stability just through knowledge.
Yeah, but how do you? I mean, I get a chest pain, and I go to the websites, and they're like, yeah, you might have indigestion or you might be dying of a heart attack. So like you're not a medical professional, so how do you avoid like how do you know where to land your feet? How do you avoid you said catastrophizing the situation?
Yeah, looking back, it's just very interesting because the first time you hear that it is cancer inside you, it's almost a okay. We're going to the attorney tomorrow. We're getting the living will done, and I'm starting to write funeral blessings to everybody. And I actually did some of that because that's how I believed it was going to go for me. And I think you have to allow yourself an awful lot of grace, right? Because you don't know the future. We really don't even know what a day brings forth. So Bible says, boast not thyself of tomorrow. So when you get the diagnosis that you have cancer, and in my case it was aggressive, fairly large cancer, yeah, all the boasting goes away and the panic starts to set in. You can mitigate that panic. In fact, you have to work at it. You have to humanly point some good weapons at that panic, like friendship, like your wife, like knowledge, like potential hope, medical hope, and just kind of beginning to outline what the next few weeks and months might look like. And just really in a sense the baby steps of what's next, what's my next test, what's my next scan, what's my next surgery.
What are the kind of the tests that people you ran through, and what were the
Sure.
possible treatments? I mean, like maybe help. I mean, I knew a lot less than I do now because of this journey. So
Yeah.
what are some of just the basics?
I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer at the beginning. And what revealed that was a CT scan, a contrast CT scan, and then they did a follow-up MRI scan, which would give more information than the CT. The CT is kind of like the first level of we're going to be able to see if there's something up with a contrast CT scan. Then the MRI is going to just go through all of your layers to see how deep it goes, how big it is, get some precise measurements. And then a PET scan is actually going to tell you more about how aggressive it is and the metabolic priority of your cancer. So you have those three scans or tests, and that gives you a really good working knowledge of what's going on in your body.
So how do you how did you balance in your head? You said you needed to figure out how to balance your own research with your medical team, but you've also got all these like quote unquote lay professionals that think they have the perfect cure for your cancer. Couple it on fact
Yeah.
with that you're actually a little weird yourself. Like you like this RFK guy and like you're part conspiracy theorist yourself. So like how in the world did you keep a level head? Because you're like popping horse pills and you're doing coffee enemas and gurgling peroxide, standing in front of like colored UV ray tubes. You did every wacky thing possible.
Well, certainly you get some calluses as you go through the valley. I mean, it didn't start off that way. I started off just trusting anyone and everything, and any medical professional that was in my path. I just took them as, oh, that's gospel truth. And I think that's actually a mistake looking back 2.5 years later. I was led to think that my stage 3 cancer was completely curable and was going to be completely cured with a simple colon resection surgery followed by some aggressive chemotherapy called Folfox, which is the standard. And that turned out not to be the case. And it was about the time when I went back to my original oncologist after they had taken a recent CT scan and then done a biopsy of the lesions on my liver, and that was it was malignant. So now I was a stage 4 because the colon cancer had proven its ability to relocate to a new organ. And she basically handed me a stack of thick papers that were about a new type of chemotherapy, palliative care. In fact, the word palliative was mentioned about 10 different times. And so she was really preparing me for this next chapter of palliative care, chemo. She said I would probably be still sick, maybe not as nauseated, but certainly with diarrhea. And I might get 12 to 18 months through this type of palliative care. And it was that time I abandoned that course of action. And that was my first year, basically, my first year in the cancer trenches. And from there, the next chapter took me to Arizona.
Is there anything you wish you would have understood earlier about your treatment or diagnosis?
I wish I would have gone to Arizona first, because I think that the way that the Arizona clinic did the chemotherapy probably had a chance to actually cure it using IPT. And cure is a bit of a misnomer. I mean, once you have cancer, it's in you. It may not clump up, it may not become a lesion or a tumor, but whatever stage you are, you're really stage 4. It's in you.
What role do you think faith played, or what truths helped anchor you during this season of, I mean, you're kind of like knocked off your feet?
Yeah, I just happened to be studying the kingdom of heaven and the atonement pretty deeply for both my own personal study and for church. And that was greatly stabilizing, just to consider all the things that Jesus achieved on the cross for my behalf, but also for the whole world. And just the thoughts of cosmic conquest because of the victory of the cross and the resurrection were greatly comforting. I heard a great quote today. Some guy a lot smarter than me, but he said, I haven't suffered anything that a good resurrection won't fix. And I thought, man, what a banger. Like that.
So good.
That is just the reality that we're living in. So I think the comfort that I took, really sinking my teeth into the resurrection for the first time, and uniting with that story, with that truth, just became absolutely stabilizing. So yes, my faith played a massive role in getting me out of initial panic mode.
So let's go to the heart. Let's go to from your head to your heart. When you think about your emotions, what emotion caught you the most off guard?
Probably the emotions in relationship to my daughter. So when I was down in Arizona fighting cancer alone there for several months, I would wake up often times at really weird hours of the morning, and that was because of, I think a lot of it was just because of the mental emotional stress plus the pharmacology factor. I was on some significant toxic drugs, not to mention blue scorpion venom. So I don't think that all of those mixture of those drugs were necessarily emotionally stabilizing. And I just remember time after time after time waking up 2, 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, and my thoughts would always go to my kid. I don't think I ever realized how much I loved my kid until I lived through that, because I would absolutely cry out for grace and mercy for my child, that God would bless her to love the Lord and to hunger after the word, and that I could have some more time with her. And then that would actually, after, and I'd be crippled to an extent. It would not be beautiful, happy praying with eloquent words. It would be snot dripping down my nose and just weeping. And that would eventually, after an hour or an hour and a half of that, I would turn on music. And music just became such a bastion of help and hope. That truth wrapped in beauty just kind of lifted me out of that pit.
Spiritually, there's parts of all of our faith traditions that would, we know all the verses, we know all the cliches, we know we all the responses and stuff. But it seems like you encounter a level of challenge that, you're far more up and down, and it's a yo-yo, and you want to stabilize, and you want to be strong, and you want to do fear not. Did you have shame around your inability to be the right kind of Christian during this time?
I just was so pushed and forced to be near the Lord because of my own plight, and then especially round two here when I was in Arizona, just being around other dying people like me that I just came to absolutely love and adore. Many of them who have already passed on. And so I think my life became fully missional in a way that it just had never even come close to being before. And that mission was fueled by the blazing white reality that I have Jesus inside. What I was trying to convey was just God's grace in the valley, and I have had people.
Did you have grace for yourself in the valley?
I think so, when I needed it. And this is, I've had many conversations with people that have watched the podcast or that have known me, and they've said things like, "Well, I hope if I ever get it, I can do it half as good as you can, Bob." And that's very humbling to hear, and I'm just so quick to just tell them it's there's grace waiting for you when you need it. Like, God, if you're actually setting foot into that valley, start looking with a different kind of vision right now, because God has prepared storehouses of grace to help you when you need it.
So I thought Jay was asking you, like, do you have grace? I don't know, Jay, were you saying grace for the trial, or like, did you have a measure of grace towards yourself, as in, like, you didn't do it perfectly, but you were okay with it? Which one did you mean, Jay?
Yeah, I meant grace for himself. Like, I think we all know God's grace comes in at specific times, but we tend to have an inner critic, and we tend to,
Oh yeah.
beat ourselves over the fact that we didn't do things right, or we snapped at somebody. And, there's a sense in which your body is under severe attack, your life is under severe attack, and you're just not going to be everything you want to be in a moment of weakness. And so, yeah, it's this idea. You even mentioned it with the people that are already coming to you a little bit with shame, saying, "It looks like you're really strong through this, and I wish I could be that strong." And so we just tend to say, like, one of the pastors we founded our church with, he said, "Jason, you got to realize people walk around with an I suck sticker on their forehead. And if you preach and you don't think about that, you're going to, like, discourage people. Like, you got to help them rip that off." So what would you say to those people that feel like they're failing as a Christian in the middle of a trial?
I would say your final chapter has yet to be written, and if you have not forsaken the Lord, you are an absolute trophy of His grace, in which I think He probably regularly flaunts His work in you to the forces of evil that have tried to get you to fear death and ultimately forsake God. And so, we're talking faith as a grain of mustard seed, if you've still got the hooks of Jesus in your heart, even just a mustard seed depth, you're actually living a kind of victory that it would be impossible for somebody that doesn't know Jesus to live. So certainly there's things that I wish were true about the last 2.5 years, as far as I wish I would have written more or done more or taken this opportunity. I have a friend that died, and I love him. I love my friend, and I did not. I prayed with him. I tried to infuse gospel grace, but I never shared Christ from start to finish with him. And man, that gnaws at me. Absolutely. Yeah.
And do you have grace for yourself in that?
Depending on if I'm looking at myself through Jesus colored lenses or Bob colored lenses. Because I mean, I have the sticker too, bud. I got more than one.
Got a duct tape roll.
It's all over, man. So you're gonna have a lot of conflicting information coming at you, and people need to prepare for this. So it would be so nice if there was just one black and white way to take care of your specific cancer. But cancer is fairly mysterious, and it's really sinister. It's so very difficult to defeat. So you have typical Western protocol, and I think Western protocol is good insofar that it goes. But typical Western protocol is going to probably laugh or even mock at internet ideas of how to battle your cancer with medications like ivermectin, fenbendazole, mebendazole. And I took the kitchen sink approach, especially when I had stage 4 hit, which is, look, what have I got to lose, right? So I'm going to do the protocol that my doctors are telling me, but I'm going to feel the liberty to do what I am reading on the internet as well. And I shared that with those doctors. I told them exactly what I was doing. And there was really only a couple of drugs that they balked at, and they said we just don't think that would be good. And so I either stopped that or limited the use of it some.
I think if I were to get cancer, everybody's like, eat your vegetables, drink water, take the meds the doctor prescribes, exercise, and get rest. Is that all true, and can we clear it off the table? Is there anything besides that we should talk about?
Jay, if you were starting off cancer, I would say, listen, do whatever you think is right for you, as long as you have the doctor's okay on it. But don't let him boss you. Don't let him boss you around. Like if you think you need to take ivermectin, horse paste, and smear that all over your face, man, do it. Because even if it's the placebo effect, I want that. I want the placebo effect when I'm fighting death in me.
As long as I don't have to eat kale, because I think kale itself is a scam, and I'd rather die than have to eat kale. So I'll do anything, but I'll do horse pills, but not kale.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, you know, in taking those dewormers, you may find that you kill multiple birds with one stone.
Bob, you were like, there were times that you were like, you probably should have taken pain meds, and then there were times that you did. You know, what's the up and down thought process with that?
Yeah, for me it was, if I take some of the opiate pain meds, which were offered to me pretty much throughout the cancer journey, I felt like that was a bit of a surrender, a bit of a waving the white flag, and it's like, okay, what's my next stop? And so, just for me to mentally motivate myself, I would often just kind of push through the pain. And I think I've probably, over the last 2.5 years, I think I've probably taken less than 10 pills total that would be opiates, just because I just don't like doing it. I'd rather deal with the pain. But there was some moments when I needed to sleep, where I had to sleep in order to repair from surgery or something else. So
Well, I think there were times where we were begging you to take some pain medication, and you were like, "Oh, I don't want to get addicted." We're like, "Dude, you're dying. It's okay to be addicted before you die." You know.
What is the schedule? What do you feel like somebody should be okay with? Because I remember being laid up in the hospital for some days when I had a bad appendix surgery, and I just felt so guilty. And it was only a week after. You saw, I was a week in the hospital and then a week on the couch, and I just felt so guilty that second
mm,
week.
yeah,
You know, so what have you felt? Because there's got to be times when you've just been like slammed, and
yeah,
I mean you couldn't do anything.
I yeah, I felt guilty today because I've just been recovering from the surgery. It's been slow. I think my body is um, adjusting to new internal norms, and I want to be I want to be doing stuff. I want to be strong again. I want to be, I look back at this summer, and I think the only way I can describe this summer is it was just a supernaturally energized time for me, because I don't think even at my best I could have done a summer like I did this past summer, and I miss that. I'd like to get back into that again, right? So I was out today trying to do farmers carries with some dumbbells, and just weak and pathetic. But
So how could you help somebody, just kind of be alleviated knowing that there's cycles with their how they feel?
I would say this, first of all, when if you start off your cancer journey with hope, and you should have a lot of hope, and it should be in the object of Jesus. But if you have a lot of hope in the medical industry to help you and heal you, we tend to think of it in Western culture as, okay, I've got this thing to deal with for the next month or 2 or 3 months, and then in 3 months I'm going to be okay. And I want to lovingly tell you that when you get a cancer diagnosis, your whole world, your life radically changes from that moment forward. It's different. Old norms are passed away, and new norms are coming. And the sooner you can become aware of them and embrace them, the better. And everybody's going to be different. Everybody's body is going to be different, the way it uh, reacts to treatment. But I think one of the things you should do is absolutely lower your expectation for yourself. When I was on full Fox chemotherapy, I was I was on it every 14 days. And out of those 14 days, I had 12 terrible days. It was like going into a pit. And I would just eat whatever I could possibly eat during those days to just maintain some strength. I was incredibly nauseated. I had a hyper sense of smell. I could smell things from 3 or 4 rooms away, and it almost always made me ill. And I can remember one time my wife was cooking something, and it was just very, very bland. But she got out a little can of like Mrs. Dash that had some seasoning on it, and you know, I'm several feet away from the kitchen. I'm several rooms away from the kitchen, and that some of the odor started wafting underneath my door, and I got on my hands and knees, and I I'm in the throes in the pit of chemo, and I just cry out. I go, "What are you doing? You're so selfish."
Perfect.
because that odor had impacted me so much. And you know we laugh about it now. We actually laughed about it fairly quickly after I said that then too. But uh, you're just you just need to realize that it's going to dominate your life. This battle, because you're actually in a battle against death. And so it's not like applying a Superman band-aid and swigging on NyQuil and then popping up out of bed the next morning and being okay. It it is going to dominate your life, and old norms pass away.
What would you do differently on the relationship side?
Yeah, I really feel like at the beginning of this, especially during the stage 4 diagnosis, that there was just this grace from God to help me understand that I was going to need you guys. And I mean, you've known me a good long time, and I've used all of y'all before. Well, I don't feel like I used you for this. Like I needed you for this. And I think there was a qualitatively different cry for help from me, because I knew that I wasn't going to make it all the way home without you guys. And then I think doing this podcast has just been a deepener for all of us. And I don't think any of us have any regrets about it. It's been a joy. So, and I look at that as that's to me that's a God flex. Like, because none of this would have happened had it not been for death in me. So again, the recurring theme that I've noticed for my past 2 years has just been God's strength and my weakness. So I'm always keen to point out to people, look at what's happened, even though I've got this death in me. So friends have been essential. In Arizona, I had 14 different friends come visit me while I was there, and that was over a period of just 3 months.
Has it ever gotten too much?
No,
And would you describe yourself as generally extroverted versus introverted?
not now. Not at age 52. I mean, you know, my my idol would be to just disappear, to go north and be on a little off-grid cabin and fish for walleye and perch the rest of my days. Like, I could completely give myself to
Do you
that.
think you've literally changed from being an extrovert to an introvert?
Yes, but during this process, I've wanted people, I've needed
Mm.
people, and in surprising ways that have actually made me laugh out loud at times.
Do you find that the people you were with who may be more introverted in personality, does it become too much for them, or would you say to them, invite everybody in, like it's good?
I was encouraging it. I was chasing after it. I was paying some of the bills to make sure it could happen. I would
Yeah.
not do I wouldn't do anything different as far as relationships go during
So,
that.
so your advice to everybody, including those of a more introverted personality, would say, let people into your life
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, and if you're afraid of being a burden, just embrace it. Say, you know what? This is okay. It's okay for me to be a burden right now.
Jay, do you think you'd have a tendency to be more introverted if you were going through a trial like this, or do you think you would be extroverted?
Extroverted. I think part of it is we were all trained in ministry, and the fabric of our training was to take minister out of the overflow of your life. We heard that over and over and over again, right? and it's almost like not even whether it's a desire or not. It's almost like a duty we felt like.
Like a
Yeah,
mandate. Yeah.
like we were trained that way, whether it's right or wrong. So I think I would naturally sit there and say, I would probably follow what Bob's doing to some degree. I don't know if I do a podcast or whatever, but I would feel there's a stewardship to the trial that I needed to
Yeah.
follow God on. And I think we're complex individuals. Like, I think sometimes we sit there, we might say, oh, let's, let's give the family some time. But deep down, you want to know if people actually care or even notice that you're hurting. And I think we don't always project even our own selves clearly. That's just my thought.
Well, I think this is a good challenge, because I got to believe that there's some people that maybe do have cancer and they're watching this and they're thinking, well, Bob was well known. Bob's got these friends. But I think the thing that everyone should hear is like, you've set the rules. Like, what I mean is, like, if you've set the boundaries, even for us, like if you were like, okay, I only want you this close, then that's what we would have done. But you're the one that's actually opened up the lanes for people to come to you. And I think that's a good exhortation, for somebody that's maybe watching this or listening to this, saying, well, Bob's outgoing, Bob's a public speaker, Bob's got a lot of friends, he's got resources, I don't. But I think the manner of life could still be one of not wasting the cancer.
I do think that there is a reality to suffering around relationships that I've seen in pastoral ministry, in that a lot of times people reap what they've sown relationally in suffering. And so if they have sown into people's lives, they get returned to them a lot. And it may not be in numbers, but it can be in depth, right? You could not be a traveling speaker like Bob, but really love your community well, love your family well, your extended family, your church family. And I've seen people it's almost like there's this mutual love, but it gets really expressed in suffering.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And it's pretty powerful.
I've seen people with cancer that almost didn't want to do financial planning, didn't really want to talk about even a funeral, didn't want to, talk about like their own heart of what their desire would be for their spouse. Because they didn't want to, they either felt like it wasn't faith or they didn't want to give in. Like, how do you balance like I could die, but then also like, I'm going to fight with everything not to die. Like, what are some insights?
Fighting not to die is greatly aided by having a lot of the things that would be worries or anxieties, have those boxes checked off, and we've done that, and we've talked very, very honestly, openly about financial picture, key people, accountant, attorney. We've done the living will. We've done the big will. We ticked off all those boxes. So I have confidence that my wife and my daughter are going to be in pretty good shape if I go home to Jesus. So,
but I think what he's saying is he's dealing with some people that are almost in denial. They don't take that approach. They take the other approach of like, there's this like even spirituality, like, you're speaking this, you're manifesting all this kind of stuff around. We can't talk about you dying. We're just going to fight this and trust God to heal you.
The word, the power of the word, kind of word,
the
faith,
power
movement.
of your faith.
Yeah.
It gets into the Baptist too.
Sure. I respect those kind of folks. There's some that are watching this podcast right now that are dear friends I've met at the clinic, and I invite them to speak into my life. They're my friends. My theology is that God certainly can heal me, that God certainly can give me the Hezekiah years that I've prayed for. I did 1/3 the size of Hezekiah, the 5 more years.
Because your faith, your third as much faith. Or...
But maybe, yeah. So, and I do think that God does grant specific faith at times that are just kind of spooky. And I don't want to try to put that into a box, right? Like, just, I mean, there's some people I've met in the last 2 years on my journey, and they have amazing stories, and they have a very big faith, and it's unshakable, and they brag on God every chance they get. Um, so more power to them. I I have taken the approach, and I'm not saying it's necessarily right or wrong, but I've taken the approach where ticking off all those if I go boxes has actually helped me to fight the battle to stay better.
That your brain is in a better space and
Yeah.
whatever. And I think stress does stuff to our bodies. So eliminating that is a wise physiological thing.
What has been hard?
We have, over the last 2.5 years, it's been a cycle of hopes and hopes deferred medically. So, um, had big hopes that weren't even going to need chemo. And then that hope was quickly deferred. Oh, actually, when we got in there, the tumor in your colon was really big, a 95% blockage. And so we are going to do chemo because you actually had a lot of lymph nodes that tested positive. So it's like that. But after you do these 6 months of Folfox, Bob, you're going to be cured. Okay, cool. So there's hope, and then but the hope deferred is, 5, 6 months after I get done with my 10th round of Folfox, I have cancer on my liver. So it's just been that's hard, because you can almost think about it like, well, the little girl that prayed for the pony for 3 years, and then she gets a pony, and then 2 weeks later the pony gets some kind of illness and dies. So, like, you know the kid asks, well, why did God give me that pony? That's a very human response. And I would say, well, I wouldn't say this necessarily like this to that child, but I would say, you're actually in a reality where it might be the number one priority to bring God glory via your faith. So this reality is structured to test, strengthen, and grow and deepen your faith. And we've seen that.
Somebody's been diagnosed with cancer and they have a spouse. And we've already heard that you were kind of an idiot with Mrs. Dash. What are the three things you tell that person to say, hey, you need to recognize this. If you're going to love your spouse well through this, you need to do these things?
Oh, laughter is number one. Like, you have to find the humor in it. And I think that's just when you can get to that level, it just brings it down to a more manageable human part of your world. Like the first 3 months, there was this character that kind of evolved out of me, because I just noticed, when you get cancer, you're just so selfish. Like, your whole world is kind of revolves around you not dying, and so you're just needy. And had this character evolve in me named Cancer Face. and he kind of had a high pitched voice. Cancer face really could use some cuddles and he could use a little bit of diet root beer, and so
You literally would talk like that to your wife?
yeah, and my daughter as cancer face. So, but then they started doing it too. They started doing the cancer face voice, and we would try to get needier and needier and
Bob,
more
you just gave
more
us
pathetic.
you just gave us ammunition for our weekend in Pennsylvania because Cancer Face is going to dominate our 2 days together.
But
Cancer Face wants us to get in the minivan. We got to go do a show about him.
Exactly. That's exactly how it works. And it was just
wait.
It was very liberating, right? Because you're actually, in a sense, in that moment, you're laughing at the death in you. You're bringing it. You're taking the bite out of it.
You're also acknowledging the humanity,
yes,
and the comedy of the moment, right? Like we're all a mess.
Yeah.
All right, laughter one. What's number
Laughter
2?
one, just honesty, just blunt force trauma. I got to have somebody I can talk to.
Does she need that though?
And of course, and I am that for her as well, right? And I think it's actually helped because God has graced me to have a stable faith. I don't want to say a strong faith, but just a stable faith through this, so that she sees, when she sees me, observes me, and has deep talks with me, she sees somebody that's actually at peace and trusting God. And I think that just does a world of good to help her. But yeah, I mean, we've had really, really deep connection and deep talks, and
what do you think has been the biggest marital test of the last 2 years?
The biggest marital test has just been when she was here taking care of my ailing parents for 3 months while I was away, because I had to stay in Arizona locally there for 3 months on site. And so we were apart, and it was like we were fighting on different battlefields. And we were in communication multiple times a day, whether through text or whether through phone calls. But that was just hard. And I've just noticed even recently, I was telling somebody, I miss a lot of the things I don't miss. Like there's a lot of the pre-cancer life I don't miss at all. And I miss not missing that, I guess. I wish I could go back to some of those lesser joys. But one of the things that I've just become addicted to is proximity to my wife. Like, I gotta be near. So just even in thinking about doing ministry, traveling here and there, like it's always dominated now by the thought of, well, can my wife come, or when am I going to get back to her?
What are ways that the marriage, you think you've upgraded? Like you are now stronger than you were 24 months ago as a couple?
It's because we've looked death in the face, and we continue to stare it down. I mean, going into the hospital together to get results, and I mean, there's been days when the results were pretty good and we went away rejoicing. And there's been days when the results were horrific and we didn't even begin to know what that was going to mean for the next several months. So to survive that together, and to know I'm not leaving her and she's not leaving me, like, the value in that, there's no price tag for that.
It's beautiful.
Well, why don't you close us, Bob, with doing your cancer face for the Pennsylvania trip? What do you want? What do you want? It's all about you.
I've been suffering for like 2.5 years, so some of you people just come and get blessed. So, listen.
There you go.
We're going to be in the morning on November the 23rd. We're going to be at Derek Suttle's church. He's the pastor of Calvary Baptist Church in Huntington, Pennsylvania. And that's going to start around 10:30. And then we're going to be at Pastor Steve Cruz Church over in Mechanicsburg. And that is Emmanuel Baptist Church. We'd love to see you at one or both of those churches. There's going to be a lunch and a panel discussion after the Sunday morning service at Community. But we'll put all the details there down in the description. So yeah, come and see us. And if we've blessed you or touched your lives in any way, boy, we'd love to shake your hand or give you a hug or even just kneel down and pray with you. Some of you that may be starting this this unfortunate valley, but it's not all unfortunate because God will use your suffering. God will bless you and others through your cancer. But we would love to minister to you.
All right. Well, that was a great investment, Bob, in people's lives as they face these trials, and hopefully we can be a blessing. That's our entire desire and goal here, is to just bless as much as possible. So thanks for your comments. Keep sending them in, and we will see you in Pennsylvania with Cancer Face fully in tow. And I cannot wait to be together as a group again. And any final words, Will?
No, this is great. Look forward to it.
All right. See you guys in a bit. Thank you for joining us today on the Dead Man Talking podcast. We hope this conversation impacted you. And if you know somebody else who could use it and be blessed by it, feel free to share it. Let's remember, we never know how many conversations we have left. So let's be grateful for every single one and make everyone count. God bless, and we look forward to our next talk together.